¿Cómo están, amigos de Futuro? Bienvenidos a este contacto. Estamos con la gente de Soft Machine, una leyenda de la música de vanguardia. Estamos con John Etheridge y con Theo Travis conectados a esta hora para hablar de lo que va a ser esta visita. John, Theo, welcome to Radio Futuro. How are you?
Very well, thank you.
And me too. Very well.
Muy bien. Ahí están, entonces van a estar tocando en dos fechas. Ustedes saben, 26 de agosto en Concepción, 27 de agosto en Santiago. Ya vamos a dar más detalles. Lo primero, queremos hablar con ellos. ¿Cómo los tiene esto de venir por estos lados? Well, John, Theo, first of all, how do you feel about coming to this side of the world to play music and share with the fans?
Well, we're very, very, very keen to come to Chile. These particular concerts have been put off since 2019, I think. They were first mooted, and it's the first time Soft Machine has been in Chile, I think, I'm pretty sure. And so we're very, very excited, and we're looking forward to getting to Santiago, and it'll be cooler. It's very hot in England, so it'd be nice to come to the cool.
And I know the audiences are really good there. I mean, I've had experience of the wonderful Chile audiences, and really be great to play to them and to you because such great fans out there, big music fans.
Good. Okay, let me translate what you said for everybody to understand. Okay, nos cuentan ahí que sí, por supuesto, están felices de traer a Soft Machine por primera vez acá en Chile, sobre todo lo que se ha esperado, este concierto que venía más o menos anunciándose desde 2019, 2020, después todos saben lo que pasó, pero finalmente llegarán acá para tocar. Nos decía Eul, por último, Theo Travis, que los interesa mucho esto de que saben de que acá en Chile hay hartos fanáticos de la música, así que interesante lo que puede pasar ahí. Ustedes saben que Soft Machine está formado actualmente por una nueva generación de integrantes, a ver cómo viven ellos todo este asunto de las diferentes formaciones y las generaciones. John and Theo, we all know that right now Soft Machine is formed by a new generation of musicians that maintain alive the spirit of Soft Machine. So how do you see this? The fact that a legendary band can be still alive with new musicians and have a new lineup and generation.
That's very interesting. I mean, I've joined in 1975. And our drummer, who we've just been recording with, John Marshall, who joined in 1972, won't be able to make the trip. So there's a continuity there. Theo joined us in 2006, and Roy Babington, who was the bass player from 1971, he just retired. He just had to leave, so we got a replacement. But I know what you mean. It's always a question. But the thing about Soft Machine, for me, it's a kind of spirit for a start. And I put a lot of effort into Soft Machine in the 1970s and a lot of commitment. And then when it re-emerged, 20 odd years ago, I was very happy to be a part of it. And I very much enjoy the music. And we have a continuity in the music that goes through everything, I think. And there really is a spirit of Soft Machine. And for me, it's always special to play with this band. So I think it's quite right that we carry on, and it feels great, and the band plays extremely well, so it's something we don't want to stop.
Yeah, I would agree. I think there's a special spirit and approach to making music, which is very, live and spontaneous. And I think the combination of the tunes and the approach to how we do things probably speaks to the younger generation as much as the older generation. So it's that sort of specialness to what we do and how we do it that I think engages people and kind of gives it a special atmosphere and vibe and sound. Just the way we do things, it's slightly different from some of the modern bands where everything is very sort of pre-organized and backing tapes and everything's very, very precise. There's a lot of improvisation in the way we play, and a lot of kind of, things can change at any time. This is the way we listen to each other and perform, and it's a kind of combination of, the rock and the jazz and the improvised, and And I think people can relate to that, and they kind of hear what's going on between the musicians and how that kind of makes the band sound.
Mm-hmm. Good. Resumiendo un poco lo que contaban, claro, hablábamos de esto de las diferentes generaciones de Soft Machine, que ahora hay músicos que no son necesariamente los originales, pero que mantienen vivo un poco el espíritu del grupo. Nos decía John que él llegó en los 70 a la banda, y en el caso de Theo, él llegó en el 2006 aproximadamente por ahí, y son parte de esta nueva encarnación de Soft Machine que sigue funcionando hasta la actualidad, digo, y manteniendo ese espíritu, sobre todo en vivo, de fusionar distintos géneros, de hacer harta improvisación y de moverse con harta libertad. Quizás por ahí está la cosa de este espíritu que estábamos hablando de Soft Machine, por la libertad, a ver qué es lo que creen ellos. John and Theo, we were talking about the spirit of Soft Machine, and maybe it's and Theo was talking about the improvisations that you make on stage when you play live. Maybe that's one of the most important things of this Soft Machine spirit, the freedom that you have to play music, to play whatever you want, to move between different music genres. Maybe is that the real spirit of Soft Machine, the freedom?
Yes, I think in a way, because bands like Soft Machine started out before people had made categories of music, and they very much were the original players were very much jazz fans, but who hadn't been to, there weren't any colleges to learn jazz, so they played it in their own way. And right from the start of this band, there was a kind of emphasis on spontaneity, and that was true of all the bands in the 60s, but the Soft Machine carried it on through the 70s. Whereas you might find early Pink Floyd, for instance, was very, very improvisational as well. Pink Floyd and Soft Machine started together, and then Pink Floyd went much more structured, much more set pieces, and Soft Machine carried on through the 70s with this sort of improvisational spirit. I mean, the Soft Machine I was in 1970s was more structured, because Carl Jenkins was the main composer, and he liked things to be very organised. But there was still, with John Marshall, myself, and Roy Babington, there was a lot of kind of an effort to improvise, you know, an effort not to be set. So I think that's absolutely the essence of it, really. It's a very important part of it. So it's like a progressive rock jazz band, or a progressive jazz progressive rock, or progressive jazz rock, or something like that.
Good. Theo, do you have something to add?
No, I mean, I agree with it all. It's kind of, you know, as I say, it's the way the sound is done, the approach to the musicians, the freedom. I think there's a lot of freedom in the way it's done, and I think the freedom and freshness in the music kind of makes it what it is. And that's partly the history of the band. There's a kind of musical culture within the band, a musical area and world, or series of areas and worlds that it inhabits, and that kind of, you know, even though there'll be different eras of Soft Machine and different sort of ways, different sounds, there's a continuity, and again an approach that's the Soft Machine way.
Mm-hmm. Okay, bueno, coinciden un poco los dos en... you were going to say something else?
No, I just think it's to do with, because I'm the generation from the start, you know, and I think it's to do with the spirit of the 60s and 70s, which was creative in a lot of ways, destructive in a lot of other ways, but I think that's what continues, really, that spirit.
Ok, bien, lo que coincide un poco ahí, lo que están diciendo los dos, es que efectivamente parte importante de la esencia de Soft Machine que ellos mantienen hasta ahora, en esta nueva encarnación, es la libertad para tocar música de la forma en que ellos quieran, como quieran, y por moverse en distintos estilos. Dicen que la banda proviene de una época desde antes de que se inventaran muchas categorías, así que están un poco por sobre eso, y que si pueden ligarse a algo es un poco el espíritu que tenía el jazz, que por ahí un poco la cosa, una música media progresiva, jazz, que por ahí va la cosa, mucho de lo que había en los años 70, y que eso es lo que mantiene finalmente, después de todos estos años, ahora. Es distinto ser creativo y libre hace 50 años que lo que es ahora, porque a estas alturas parece que ya está casi todo inventado, pero se puede seguir siendo creativo. A ver qué es lo que opinan ellos. Well, John and Theo, it was very different to be very free and creative, musically speaking, when the Soft Machine started, right, in the 60s. And now, more than 50 years later, maybe it's more difficult to be creative because it seems like everything it's done at this point. I don't know. What do you think about it?
Well, yes, in a way, it's probably everything is done in terms of sounds. Not everything is done, but a lot of things. A lot of the creative, if you like, sounds that were produced by Jimi Hendrix or Pink Floyd or Soft Machine, obviously now they sound ordinary and they sound, but I think I go back to this thing about the kind of the intention. So our intention stays on an area where I don't think there are so many people with the same intention. It does mean that it's not a you cannot become superstars improvising. I mean that's an equation. The equation is improvising, no superstar. That's very much true. And you'll find that a lot of the greatest jazz musicians, the most famous jazz musicians, don't improvise very much because there is a tendency to want to make everything as tidy as possible. And so, I'd go back to that. The sounds, any sounds that we make, when I first heard Jimi Hendrix, those sounds had never been made before by anybody. So we can't claim that now. But I mean, I think the essence of adventure, if you like, is still what appeals and means that we can continue to play. I mean, we don't play gigantic arenas or anything, but we play in nice places. And it's very lucky that we can come to Chile. I mean, it's what a nice opportunity for us. It's great that somebody will. Yeah,
I mean, I would following on from that, in a way, echoing it. I'd say, in many ways, lots of sounds and types of music have been made, and you can probably find something that sounds similar to most things if you wanted to. But going back to the sort of intention, I think. Well, on one hand, although you could say everything's been done, but people always find ways to express themselves in a way that's slightly different. I mean, it's a hugely different world now from what it was in 1967, 8, 9, and that's going to reflect in the music that's made. And also, I mean, you mentioned the intention behind the music. Also, I think there's a very important thing about at the actual moments the music is made. When you're standing on stage, the moment the music is made, is it spontaneous? Is it prepared? Is it fully rehearsed, or is it kind of fresh and live at that moment? And that reflects what comes out. And as I say, the actual instrumentation, the sounds, the way each of the players are playing. There's 50 plus years of extra musical history of things that have gone on since Soft Machine started, and that will feed into the musical language and vocabulary of players. So we're drawing on hugely different and wider types of sounds and things in addition to the pieces that we're playing, and we will inevitably play in a slightly different way, and if we're improvising, some of it's going to come out. So there's a lot of things that kind of feed into what is done and how it's done, and the end result of the sound. Whether it's, as I say, fully prepared and rehearsed, or whether it's completely freely improvised. So I think it always remains, fresh and adventurous music, the way we do it.
Translate that.
What?
Very long question, very long answer. I will try to resume. No, it's okay. Bien, nos cuentan ahí un poco sobre esto de si se puede seguir siendo creativo e inventar algo nuevo más de 50 años después, a esta altura del partido, que parece que estuviera casi todo hecho. Nos decía primero John que puede que tal vez los sonidos ya estén todos encontrados. En el caso del guitarrista, y decía que, por ejemplo, los guitarristas tipo Jimi Hendrix, a lo mejor por ahí inventaron todos los sonidos. Pero lo que sigue siendo un campo abierto todavía es la intención, la forma de combinar los sonidos, de usarlos. Y ahí juega un papel muy importante lo que decían ellos de las improvisaciones, que son ahí es donde el terreno fértil, donde encuentran las nuevas formas. Es lo que complementaba también Theo Travis al respecto, que dice que hay una intención que sigue estando ahí, todo este asunto de las improvisaciones, la forma de enfocar la música, de hacer las cosas, por ahí va la novedad, y eso es el camino que siguen avanzando ellos. Ese es un poco el resumen, para no alargar mucho la traducción. Una pregunta especial para Theo. Él es el saxofonista, como ustedes saben, que es un instrumento que a lo mejor a los que estamos aquí metidos en el rock, que no es muy habitual en las bandas, pero que se le puede sacar mucho provecho. A ver cómo lo siente él. This is a very special question for Theo, because you play the saxophone, right? We are here on a radio station that plays rock music. Rock is the guitar, bass, and the drums, and we are not used to hear the saxophone very often. So we want to know your point of view about this beautiful instrument. How did you get into saxophone? How do you feel the beauty of this instrument in music in general?
Well, I probably listened to rock music and crossover music before I got into saxophone and jazz. Started off with the Beatles and Pink Floyd and whatever, all sorts of rock music. And then I got very heavily into jazz and mainly played jazz for quite a few years. But then as I kind of started playing more rock music, I'd be aware of other saxophone players who played in rock music. And I would always be interested in what they would do. So bands like Traffic, where there was, a saxophone in them, and Pink Floyd had, saxophone on some, not many tracks, but on a few tracks, like on Dark Side of the Moon and Shine On You Crazy Diamonds, famously some saxophone. And then King Crimson, which is a band, I've listened to a lot. Had a lot of saxophone with Mel Collins playing, and he's played in other rock bands like Camel and Tears for Fears. So I'm kind of aware of the saxophone that you do hear in rock bands, even though, as you say, there's not that much of it compared to guitars and basses and everything. So and again, I take probably quite an improvising approach. I mean, if I hear the music and I like it, I'll play something that hopefully seems to fit, like any other woodwind player in a rock band, whether it's trumpet or flute or whatever. So if I can make it work within the music, then that's good. And there's lots of examples of people playing unusual instruments in rock bands and making it work. So that's probably where I come from. But with a kind of jazzy background.
Muy bien, sí, nos contaba ahí Theo Travis sobre su relación con su instrumento, el saxofón. Dice que, por supuesto, al principio se sentía atraído por bandas de rock, después fue derivando al jazz, pero según su visión es un instrumento que, si bien no es tan masivo como los otros del rock, ha estado presente en actos muy importantes, que los nombraba ahí entre medio, Pink Floyd, en fin, desde los Beatles también, Tears for Fears, bandas en otras décadas. Así que el saxofón es por supuesto un instrumento hermoso en que él descubrió todo un mundo y se ha dedicado a explorarlo y desarrollarlo hasta hoy. Así que ahí va a estar con Soft Machine tocando en nuestro país. Ya nos va quedando poco tiempo, así que les vamos a dar la palabra para que emitan sus declaraciones finales, nuestros invitados de hoy. Well, John and Theo, our time is coming to an end. So finally, do you have some final words to your fans that are waiting for you here in Chile?
Yeah, well, we're really looking forward to it, and it will be great. So our band we've just been recording a new album, so we're really ready to play, and we're really looking forward to it. So can't wait. So see you there.
Yeah, me too. Really looking forward to coming back to Santiago and playing to the wonderful music fans there. So it's going to be fantastic.
Ahí está entonces la invitación, la despedida en esta pasada de John Etheridge y Theo Travis de Soft Machine. Invitando a la gente a que nos acompañe. Les debía las coordenadas detalladas. 26 de agosto en el Teatro de la Universidad de Concepción, en Concepción por supuesto, y después 27 de agosto en el Teatro Caupolicán de Santiago. Para ambos shows las entradas están en sistema.ticket, así que vayan ahí a ver a Soft Machine. John and Theo, thank you very much for your time and we will see you here.
Thank you very much.
Good to speak to you. Thank you.
Good. Llegamos hasta acá. Gracias a todos por estar ahí. Nos vemos en una próxima oportunidad. Chao, chao.